An exciting new aircraft delivery, an airline expanding its network, and equally an airline being forced to cancel flights. That's the focus of today's industry recap. Why not begin with Emirates, who have taken delivery of another A350-900 with Airbus, this time registered as A6-EXD, as part of their ongoing fleet renewal efforts. After taking delivery of, you may recall, the first unit following significant delays towards the back end of 2024, they were able to formally enter the plane into service in the first few days of the 2025 calendar year. A6-EXD is the A350-900 being delivered. It had a test registration of FWZHH and flew from Toulouse, Airbus's home city, to Dubai on delivery flight. Emirates launched long-haul commercial service with the newly delivered aircraft on the 3rd of January 2025, now more than 3 weeks ago, with service to Edinburgh. The launch was momentous, considering the lengthy time that Emirates had been awaiting the plane. Remember that initial forecasting was meant to see the 350 debut towards the midway point of 2024. However, delays meant this wasn't possible. As for the first flight, it operated as EK23, departing at 3:26 p.m, arriving into Edinburgh 13 minutes later than expected at 7:18 p.m. local time. While delivery occurred towards the back end of last year, the airline had to familiarise itself with the new plane, which meant that regular flying between Dubai International and Dubai World Central was taking place. Crew familiarisation is typical for any new aircraft that enters into an airline's operations, as that allows the company to get familiar with the new piece of technology that they will eventually fly across missions. First, though, it is short-haul flights which are really the best way to get accustomed to it on a smaller sample size. In the case of the 350, the shorter flights are perfect before it eventually is given the all clear to be flown on long distance ones. As for the 350 at Emirates, while they have 65 on order in total, however, the airline does not rule out a further top-up purchase at some point, as it looks to bolster its fleet and solidify its future position as an industry leader. The Dubai-based carrier has long seen the arrival of the A350s as basically occurring in batches, with the first 10 units acting as the first batch and then the remaining units arriving at a later date. Moreover, you may recall that in the latter stages of 2023, Emirates did commit to additional A350s, which certainly does align with its strategy to continue elevating the fleet and determining whether further units are required of a type as time progresses. At least the first 10 aircraft are expected to be configured to seat 312 passengers, with a layout across 3 separate cabin classes. The remaining aircraft, however, have not had a publicly confirmed configuration as of yet. You would imagine that the airline will now have the opportunity to really see how the A350-900 develops and how it grows on their network, alongside how customers feel about the product that is being put forward to them, and even just financial metrics of the configuration, to really determine how they look to configure their remaining units and even where they want to deploy said units, if that is a more premium configuration or a greater mix. Over to AirJapan, a new edition of the ANA group, which aims to offer low-cost travel. They're expanding their fleet and overall business in 2025. During a recent flight schedule report, the group said that AirJapan will continue to initially operate 3 routes from Tokyo Narita, an aim to capture inbound demand to the country. The Japanese company is also expected to receive more aircraft, with the financial year targeted as a significant year of growth for international services. AirJapan will likely expand towards more cities in Asia. However, the specifics of the locations that will be added to the network have not yet been formally announced. The timings and routes are expected to be finalized in due course for the newly launched carrier, and also Peach, which acts as another low-cost division, part of the ANA group. AirJapan says that it will continue operating the 3 routes I briefly touched on before. These launched since they were established and have seen pretty solid levels of demand. So operating NQ1 and NQ2 sees service to Bangkok with 7 round trips per week. Meanwhile, NQ3, NQ4 is on service to Singapore Changi with 5 round trips occurring on a weekly basis. And lastly, you do see daily service as NQ121, 122 to Seoul Incheon, part of a fundamental short-haul flying to South Korea and capturing a lot of that demand that we see between Japan and Korea on a daily basis. To confirm, all these routes originate in Tokyo, Narita, and are all operated by the Boeing 787, as this is the only fleet type in the business thus far, with the units basically being transferred over from All Nippon Airways, the mainline division. Who are AirJapan? Well, they were launched in 2024 to offer international routes covering Asia. They want to act as a low-cost unit, and they're part of really the three distinct brands now at the ANA group. Mainline ANA, as I touched on, shipped some of its 787s off to aid with the launch efforts, with the aircraft being then repainted and reconfigured into the AirJapan cabin product. Upon launch, the airline hasn't necessarily looked to expand quickly, instead focusing on offering 3 modest routes in its first year of operation to get the basics down pat. In 2025, the carrier is expected to expand further with the arrival of more 787 Dreamliners. This will really facilitate the launch of new routes. I'd love to hear your take. Is there anywhere you'd like to see AirJapan launch in, say, the coming year? You can let me know down below in the comments. As for some more maybe negative news to conclude the video, Greater Bay Airlines, a key pillar of the Asian aviation sector, is being forced to cancel flights in the coming months, with 128 flights to be cancelled across February and March, set to affect nearly 6,000 passengers. The cancellations are coming purely as a last resort, as the airline indicates that it is struggling with the delayed delivery of new aircraft types, alongside the need for its current aircraft to see ongoing maintenance, which leads to inspections. Aircraft complications have become a common theme right across the industry, leading the airline to cancel flights across the network. Local Hong Kong media reports that Greater Bay Airlines is expected to cancel flights in several markets. Now, this ranges from service to Japan, Thailand, and South Korea. The latter has a pretty hefty update that I will get into. That is because, specifically, its service to Seoul is going to be likely axed, as the carrier deems that route performance towards this location can be deemed as unsatisfactory. Greater Bay Airlines is determined to understand overall why all this action needs to be taken. While it has a brief understanding, it knows that much more has gone into this. Therefore, we will be seeing an internal review that is expected to determine why the flight scheduling process has really led to what is taking place. Given the Lunar New Year celebrations, there was some concern about the airline's ability. Greater Bay just says, though, that minimal impact will be felt right across that period, before and after, and it'll be doing everything in its power to really be there for its customers. As for the company, well, it operates a fleet of actually just 8 aircraft, so it's therefore a relatively small operation, but it is driven only by the one fleet type, that is your 737, all -800s, and all through a lease arrangement. That'll conclude today's aviation news recap. Thank you very much for your support here on the channel. Please take care, do be safe, and I'll see you tomorrow for your next aviation industry recap.